This conference will now be recorded.
We'll do the roll call.
Tracy Wandale. Bob Jameson.
Here.
Josh Anderson. Robert McCamey.
Here.
Bill Yeager.
Here.
Steve Meade.
Here.
Jared Creasy. Tim Isbell.
Here.
Tracy's
Members
here.
present. Members present constitute a quorum. I'll do the prayer and Commissioner Meade will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Most gracious and heavenly Father, thank you so much for your gift of salvation through your Son, Jesus Christ. Father, too often the lies of the world drown out your voice. Give us ears to hear you and hearts willing to obey. Help us to stand against the pressure to seek success and power. Give us the strength to choose the timeless truths of your word over the fleeting promises of the world. And Father, confirm all of these thoughts and plans that conform to your will. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the approval of the agenda. So moved. Second. Have a motion and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, will we be taking the roll call vote on our machine?
No, it'll be by voice.
Just voice only?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no changes to the agenda, we got a first and second. Call the roll, please.
Wandale.
Aye.
Jameson.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
McCamey.
Yes.
Yeager.
Yes.
Meade.
Here.
Creasy.
Yes.
Isbell.
Yes.
All 8.
Motion passes unanimous. Next, we have appearance of citizens. There's no one present in the courtroom. Is there someone on the phone or on the recording that would like to speak? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to social distancing. We prepared a little slideshow to begin with. Okay, go ahead. This first one is from John Hopkins. While wearing a mask will prevent you from spreading COVID-19, if you have it and don't know it, physical distancing and frequent thorough hand washing are still the best ways to avoid getting COVID-19. Physical distancing and frequent hand washing are the best ways to protect against COVID-19. And you'll see at the very bottom, that's where I got this information. That comes from John Hopkins. Next. This is a study found in journal Nature Medicine, stored published April 3rd, Nature Medicine. Author Ben Colling, head of Division of Epidemiology and Biostatistics at Hong Kong University. The study was conducted on surgical masks. There's been enough research done to be able to confidently say that masks won't be able to stop the spread of infection, that they would only have a small effect on transmission, Colling said. We shouldn't be relying on masks to help us go back to normal. And again, the way I take that is he's saying we don't want that if you think that you got a mask on, that you're protected, not without the social distancing and the hand cleaning. Next. The Mayo Clinic, don't use face masks as a substitute for social distancing. Again, you'll see the link at the bottom from the Mayo Clinic. Next. The CDC, in some situations, wearing a cloth face covering may exacerbate a physical or mental health condition, lead to medical emergency, or introduce significant safety concerns, including people who are deaf or hard of hearing, or those who care for or interact with a person who is hearing impaired, people with intellectual, developmental disabilities, mental or other sensory sensitivities, people who work in a setting where cloth face coverings may increase the risk of heat-related illness or cause safety concerns due to introduction of a hazard, and anyone who has trouble breathing. And it's, at the bottom, you'll see where that link is, come from the CDC. Next. Mandating masks would isolate people with health conditions. If they have to show evidence of a medical condition, this may violate HIPAA laws. Next. OSHA, regarding cloth face coverings, they will not protect the wearer against airborne transmission of infectious agents due to loose fit and lack of seal or inadequate filtration. Cloth face coverings are not a substitute for social distancing measures. And again, what OSHA is saying is when you wear a mask, you don't think that that's the foolproof thing to keep from getting it, and it needs to fit well. Next. A cluster randomized trial of cloth masks compared with medical masks in healthcare workers. You'll see all that there, and the rates of all infection outcomes are highest in the cloth mask arm. Penetration of cloth mask by particles was almost 97%, and medical mask 44%. The result, caution against the use of cloth masks, moisture retention, reuse of cloth masks, and poor filtration may result in increased risk of infection. As a precautionary measure, cloth masks should not be recommended for healthcare workers, and you'll see the link at the bottom. Next. To wear your face mask correctly, as the CDC advises. Wash your hands before putting on your face covering. Put it over your nose and mouth and secure it under your chin. Try to fit it snugly against the sides of your face. Make sure you can breathe easily. At the bottom, cloth face coverings should not be worn by children under the age of 2 or anyone who has trouble breathing, is unconscious, incapacitated, or otherwise unable to remove the mask without assistance. And this information submitted to committee from Citizen Eric Taylor and Commissioner Denenberg. This is a 7-day moving average, positivity ratio, new cases / new tests per day. Day 1, 15 April 2020, Tennessee opens testing all. Day 88, 12 July 2020. And you can see how that graph moves up. Next. Data from Tennessee Board of Health website. Daily new tests are negative and positive tests combined. All negative tests are used. With open testing, this means multiple negative tests for one person will artificially decrease the positivity ratio. A positive test for an individual is normally followed by antibody tests, which are not part of the daily new testing ratio. 15 April 2020 is start point due to Tennessee governor open testing all individuals then. Before, only symptomatic individuals were tested, which would artificially increase positivity ratio. All data reflects the low numbers during the weekends due to the normal decrease of reporting. Next. And again, this is the 7-day moving average. Next. Daily hospitalizations. Next. 7-day moving average, Tennessee daily deaths. That's day 1, April 2020, day 102, 13th of July. You'll see how that escalates. Next. Tennessee Department of Health only counts the COVID death when it is the primary cause of death rather than a contributing factor. U.S. CDC weekly mortality rate. Tennessee shows excess mortality for Tennessee beginning in March 2020. Chart below. You'll see that chart. Symptom signs and abnormal clinical and laboratory findings not elsewhere classified. Number two, I can go back to 2014. It shows the same flat curve until 11 April 2020. The last number on week 78 is always low as death certificates are updated. Next. This is the Tennessee COVID-19 case track, and you can see that. And that's on that website at the bottom. Next. And here are the, and Roger Lloyd's here, and he can speak on, I think, how to make when we get to that. 10 ideas, concerns from Jay Yeager, AC Law Director. You got this in an email. Next. One is the entry questionnaire. Are you running a fever, or have you had a fever in the past week? B, are you sick, or have you been around someone sick during the past week? Have you or someone close to you been diagnosed with COVID-19? Have you had a persistent cough, sore throat, or shortness of breath? Have you experienced loss of taste or smell? Have you experienced severe vomiting and diarrhea? Number two, entry temperature scan at doorway. Number three, seating arrangement, including outside hallway to achieve proper social distancing. Next. Four, maximum reduced occupancy levels for the commission room and hallway. 5, sanitizing station. 6, mask or no mask. 7, pre and post meeting deep cleaning with hospital grade cleaners. Next. This number 8, where it talks about the ultraviolet light in the HVAC ductwork. Roger Lloyd is here, and I'm going to ask him to come up and speak about that because that's already been done. And some of the other things that he's already done in the, if you can just come up close to this where they can hear you.
Yes, we've installed 8 in the Anderson County Courthouse. We have 4 air handlers in the courthouse, so we've installed 2 per unit. As far as I know, we've been supplying masks and cleaning regularly, and I actually bought a ionizer last week to do kind of, I guess, the simplest thing. It's kind of like a big leak blower. It's a fogger, mister, whatever. We're going to start doing the bigger courtrooms and stuff like that. We've been daily wiping stuff down with hospital disinfect, Lysol cleaners. We have a kind of like a pre-mixed solution that we've been using too. Everybody knows some things are hard to get a hold of during all this. I just recently contacted Smoky Mountain Brewery, and I've ordered some more hand sanitizer. I've got 30 gallon on their way. I've bought, me and health department, or not the health department, EMA went together, and we bought a large order of sanitizing wipes because they're about impossible to find around here. So we're doing everything that everybody's suggesting and a few more things on top of that. So, I mean, we'll take any kind of suggestions that anybody's offering, but I do offer masks in my office, gloves, whatever it takes to keep everything rolling and everybody safe. That's what we're trying to do.
And you're doing the temperature checks at the door?
The sheriff's department actually has a deputy posted at the front door. So when you do come in, you do get tested as you walk through the entryway. I made masks available for people that was coming to court that didn't have any. Like I said, we're just doing what we know how to do.
And all the fee clerks in the offices you have that.
We have plexiglass. I actually ordered I think I ordered 18, 19 for county commissioners, dividers. Supposed to go pick them up tomorrow. We're just doing the best that we can with what we got. And I think it's a new learning for all of us.
It is.
I mean, we're just trying to do the best that we can. Answer any questions y'all got or take any suggestions that anybody has.
I have
Any
a question,
questions?
Roger. Yeah.
Okay.
What is the magic number for the sheriff's department to turn somebody away?
I really don't know. I thought that they were just going by the CDC guidelines that was sent out like through HR and stuff. So wasn't like and I'm just seemed like it was like anything over like 100.1. And I don't know why I'm thinking that. It just seems like that's what it is.
Okay.
And even if you've got a low grade fever, they are turning people away.
All right. Thanks.
I mean, I don't know how often that's happening, but I've just known of a few cases, and that's hearsay only, that they have turned people away.
Any other questions for Roger?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
Roger,
Okay.
this is Commissioner Scott. And
Okay.
you said that you're looking to put plastic partitions or plexiglass partitions in between each of the seats of the commissioners.
Yeah.
You know, that's great. However, we currently are placed approximately elbow to elbow. And to put a plastic partition in between me and, as an example, Jerry White, who I sit next to, that doesn't avoid us from bumping knees, bumping chairs, people walking behind us to get to their seats. I don't feel comfortable with that kind of an arrangement, still being next to someone that close. That doesn't put us 6 feet apart from each other. And just from the meetings that I've seen where people are present for commission meetings, et cetera, there's no sanitizer that is put up on the counters. No one's wearing a mask. I want to know how those microphones are being stored, since they're being plugged in for public use. The voting pads, how far in advance is that courtroom being cleaned before it would be used for commissioners? I'm sorry to lay out so many questions at once.
No, the only questions I can answer you is that I did install a hand sanitizer thing when you did take an approach, when you do come in county commissioner, and it's to the left-hand side of the door. As far as partitions and stuff go, I'm just doing the best that I know how, taking suggestions from each and every one, and we'll still, no matter what. It was just kind of like at the first of the meeting. We will. I mean, all of us will still have to practice social distancing. Like I said, the masks are readily available. I was going to set a table outside for each of the bigger county commission meetings and stuff. And I think that even under the governor's orders, you all ain't even going to meet until August 29th, I think, is what's kind of saying. I mean, I'm open for suggestions. I'm just doing the best I know how, and I think all of us are. As far as cleaning the rooms and stuff, I do make sure anytime anybody's going to have a larger meeting, we come in, wipe down, sanitize, and clean. So that's, I guess, answering your question, that's the best that I can explain it.
Well, and I appreciate that you are taking sort of steps. Have you not contacted like Davidson County, Knox County, any of the surrounding counties to find out what they're doing and what their method is, as opposed to kind of winging it?
I went across the road to Clinton City, looked at theirs, City of Oak Ridge. That's just what they're doing. So I'm just kind of following the leads of everybody else.
And if you'll look at number 9, it was Commissioner Yeager recently visited Oak Ridge Council chambers and noted that city was using plexiglass dividers between each council person. This appears to be a simple and inexpensive solution that we could possibly do in-house. Roger Lloyd has done an excellent job in installing plexiglass barriers at many of the departmental service counters. So, that's what he's doing is following up with what Oak Ridge is doing and some of the other cities. I think probably the only difference in what he's doing than Knox County's doing is it's just a mandatory mask when you enter the building. But when you do that too, there's other things involved. It's like even working going in some places with the humidity, when you got a mask on, your glasses fog and you can't see, and that that can be a danger. But we constantly have to take all kinds of steps to try to protect each other.
Sure, and I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman. I mean, I'm trying to think of, I'm not going to any restaurants, and I'm not going to venues where they are doing the social distancing, other than my doctor's office. And when I go to my doctor's office, we're not allowed to sit within 6 feet of each other, and that's whether there's somebody behind you, to the side of you. You can't take a guest in to the waiting area. That's what the kind of thing that I'm taking into consideration. They take your temperature before you come in the main door. If you don't have a mask, they issue a mask. They do ask the series of questions, and you either go to the left because you're good to go, or you go to the right because they're concerned about a temperature or some of the questions that someone may have answered. And when you go to the left to sit in the main area, I'm telling you, the nearest person is easily 10 feet away. Going to a counter to speak to anyone regarding the purpose of your being there, they've got a plexiglass window. You're not allowed to set anything on the counter. You have your mask on, you're sanitizing your hands. You've got a good pen or a bad pen. The bad pen is where you put the pen after you've used it. And the person behind the counter has a mask on. I mean, there's all these different things. They're pressing a button to unlock the door for you to be able to go to the next point. So they're doing as much as they can where people aren't touching anything. Whether it be a countertop, a doorknob, the chair that you sit in, when someone leaves, another person from the facility comes in and they Lysol it, and they put a marker on it so that no one sits in that chair for the next hour, and they open up another seat. So my concern is, we're in a building that's rather old. And I don't know what the air system's like. I don't know who's cleaning the elevator. I don't know who's wiping the rails to the staircase and or how often. I appreciate that there's someone at the main door checking temperatures, but I don't know what the temperature of the person is that's taking temperatures, what their qualifications are for it. And I appreciate that Roger's going through as much as he can, but he's an army of one. And that's why I'm suggesting that not only, it's great that he's going to these other city councils, but go to the counties and find out what these counties are doing. Unfortunately, our numbers are going to grow. State of Tennessee is not expected to peak until sometime in October, and that's the beginning of our annual influenza issues. I've posted it on Facebook. I tell people if they ask, why are you wearing a mask? It's because I don't want a tube shoved down my throat. And what county commission pays me to hold the elective seat per month does not even cover what my deductible is to go to the emergency room. I'm just not willing to take a chance right now. So thank you.
Then number 10, which departments will be charged with enforcing any policies and procedures commission adopts? And that's from the law director. That was his suggestions and some of the things that commissioners have sent to him. Next. And that concludes the slideshow. We have discussion. Can you go back to the regular so we can see? No, go back to the regular screen where we can see people that want to speak. Yeah, there you go. Commissioner Creasy?
Yes, sir. Yeah, is this where we discuss our plans for when the governor opens us back up for in-person meetings?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm as concerned as Commissioner Scott. my concern about our commission room, if we compare that to the Oak Ridge City Council room, I believe our room may be smaller, and their legislative body is a lot smaller, almost a third as small as ours. In other words, there's less legislators in the room occupying more space than what we got. Plus, they're limiting the people that attend, or ask the people to not attend unless they just have to. But I think our room is too small for 16 commissioners and the other elected officials and appointed officials that have to be at our meetings. I want us to consider some other options for meeting when we do go back to in-person meetings, and some that I jotted down, and I sent a couple of these to the law director, and hoping if there's any questions, he could help us out with them. But I feel like that if we're going to have in-person meetings, we should look for a larger room, something like our school auditorium, or maybe the amphitheater up at Norris Downs State Park, or our own county parks where we have picnic areas where we used to have meetings with the Conservation Committee. I think these may be some options we may have, and meeting in the school auditoriums. The judge's courtroom there around the corner by the elevator, I believe, is larger than our commission room, but I don't know about how we could seat us safely there. But I'd like for us to be considering those. We only got two more commission meetings before that order will go into effect. We've got this July commission meeting next Monday, and then the August commission meeting, to make sure we all know what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. One of the other things I jotted down is the possibility of us going back to quarterly meetings, where we only meet every 3 months. If that's something that we could financially do and still operate as a full county, that would limit our exposure to only 4 times a year during this pandemic until we get a handle on it. I'd like for us to be thinking about that. But that's some of my thoughts I have. And one of the other things that I wanted to bring up is the Supreme Court ruling. That I think the law director did send me one answer on that, but if he's with us, I'd like for him to give us his interpretation of that, so everyone would have the opportunity to hear his opinion on how we should operate under the Supreme Court ruling, and how our the people in the courthouse, how they'll be affected, and our employees.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. This order that was issued by the Supreme Court of Tennessee is lacking clarity. There's no doubt about it. The court was trying to find jurisdiction over courthouses, and they have jurisdiction over judicial proceedings, but the way it's written is it says court-related business, and that you must wear a mask while inside the building. Well, that's fine when we know if you're entering the building, the courthouse, or any other building that has a court in it, and you're there for court-related business, then you know you need to keep a mask on and keep that mask on until you leave that building. That's by the simple language of the Supreme Court order. Now, the problem lies, what if you're entering that building for non-court related purposes? Does this order give jurisdiction over that? Apparently not. So here we have the entire first and second floor, which really doesn't have any court-related businesses on it, only the third. So right now, and I've not been consulted on this, but the way I understand the plan is if you enter the third floor, you're required to wear a mask. Now, again, that's the way it's been implemented so far, and I understand fully the clarity issue on this order, but it's all about the Supreme Court trying to reach for jurisdiction over this issue, and they've limited it to court-related business. But it does say that if you enter for the purposes of court-related business, you must keep that mask on until you exit the building. Well, again, that doesn't answer the question. What if you enter the courthouse for non-court related business? And that's where we need some clarity, and we're hoping the Supreme Court will issue some additional guidance on that. But I think they're going to be through on the issue because they're without jurisdiction to enter an order for the remainder, all the additional rooms of the courthouse. Now, we do have a governor's order that allows the county mayor to issue a mask order, and the county mayor has issued a press release that she is not going to issue an order for masks countywide, that she's relying on the citizens and their discretion on whether or not to wear a mask. But that's where we're at, Commissioner Creasy.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Yeager, our law director. The other thing, Mr. Isbell or Commissioner Isbell, if I could continue for just a moment or two, I have some more concerns and questions. The mayor has the authority to authorize or to give a mass order similar to the county mayor in Washington County. And I think that I asked Annette to send a copy of that order from Washington County to all the commissioners so they could be aware of that. And I understand there's over 10 counties already requiring masks. And of course, the mayor has chose not to give an order for Anderson County. But then my other question, Chairman, is what authority does the county commission have in regard to county building? Not a county-wide order, but a county building. Can we, as a county commission, and the chairman of the county commission, if we vote to do so, do we have the authority to insist that all employees and anyone entering our county buildings wear masks? And that's my other question. And I think the law director probably would be the best to answer that.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy. The authority lies in the statute. There's a TCA code that gives the governor powers, and the governor did defer those powers as far as masking goes to our local county mayor. Now, as far as preemption statutes and preemption law goes, that law is superior to anything that the county commission could pass via resolution. So to answer your question, no, the county commission would not have the power to contradict or conflict with the order that the mayor has already established by virtue of the governor's order. It would trump anything, and no pun intended, but that would trump anything that the county commission passed on the local level with the resolution. So in the area of mask, that's preempted. Now, other areas, yes, the county commission could put reasonable stipulations on the entering of the room 312, the county commission halls that are unrelated to mask. And I do believe that you could enter an order requiring mask in room 312 or room 118. You could probably require hand sanitizer and things of that nature that are not in conflict with the governor's order throughout the county. But as we've heard already, Roger's done a great job. He's issued masks. He's issued plexiglass petitions. If you walk through our offices, there's plenty of hand sanitizing stations throughout the courthouse, but there's not a lot left to do there. And I didn't know about the UV lights, but I applaud Commissioner Isbell for bringing that up. A very cheap solution that, from my research of this, reduces 98% of the pathogens in the air. So to answer your question, the preemption laws, the way they are in the state of Tennessee, we could not override what the mayor has proclaimed so far, and that's no mask. But I do believe you could issue an order that controls just the county commission chambers, which is room 312 and room 118, 118A.
But if someone was to make a motion to ask the mayor to enforce masks within the courthouse and county buildings, could we do that in the form of a resolution, ask her to do that, and then it would be her choice to follow through with it or not? If she objects, I would say that would be legal for her to do for the way you just explained it.
Yes, it'd be legal for her to reject it. And again, we couldn't mandate the mayor to pass any type of requirement for masks. We don't have that authority. But if you're respectfully asking the mayor, yes, you could do that. But again, she does not have to comply with that.
And one other question. When the people come into the courthouse, employees and visitors, does the deputies test their temperature, employees as well as visitors? And are the deputies wearing masks that man the front entrance?
Yes, I believe they are. The few times that I've entered the courthouse through that entryway where the deputies are at, they are wearing masks. They are taking the temperatures, and I would assume they're taking the temperatures of any employee that enters that way. However, there is alternate employee entrances that I have not seen a deputy stationed at. The deputy is only at the main public entrance on the front of the courthouse to the right side or to the east side of the courthouse.
Now, the county commission does have the authority to close the other entrances by resolution, don't they?
Yes, sir. I would agree with you that they have the authority to close the other entrances. Now, you've always got the issue of fire protection, but most of those exits do have push alarm doors on them and push exits. So I think we're taken care of there.
Commissioner Isbell, that's about all I have, unless I have something else to pop in my mind later in the discussion. I'll let someone else have their turn at giving their opinions and questions. Thank you for letting me go on. Thank you very much. And thank you, Jay Yeager, Law Director.
My pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, we can't hear you. Is it just me, or can no one hear what he's saying?
I can't hear anything.
Okay. Hey, Brian, we haven't heard anything that the chairman has said.
I don't think Brian's running this meeting, Teresa.
Okay.
And that's why I'm asking for the 2 mayors and 3 county commissioners, 2 from Oak Ridge and myself, and 2 city councilmen to be determined by the city mayor to sit down and work this out and see if we can come to some agreement. Because at the present time, we don't have an agreement. The city has offered to pay $30,000 a year, and that ends in 2022. And that's just 2 years from now. So, I feel like that we need something long-term. We stretched it 20 years to borrow the money to renovate that court, and I think they should go 20 years along with us. But I'll make that in the form of a motion that we have to form a subcommittee to study it.
Second the motion, Steve Meade.
We have a first and second discussion on the motion to form a subcommittee. Mr. Yeager?
Where are the memorandums of understanding for Rocky Top and Oliver Springs? Because they share this court too.
That's, in my opinion, that's their choice. I mean, they don't have to. They can come to Clinton. They choose to go there.
But they are. So they are part of this play right here.
I'm not sure because we don't have a court in Rocky Top or Oliver Springs. And again, if the
I
city
disagree, but I'm going to sign.
Okay.
Mr. Yeager, were you done?
I am certainly done.
All right, thank you. Caller 2, is that you, Josh?
Yes, it is. Sorry, I lost connection. I had to dial back in.
All right, not a problem.
And this motion is just to form a subcommittee, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Any other discussion on the motion to form a subcommittee? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Wandale,
No.
Jameson,
Yes.
Josh Anderson, Kamey,
Yes.
Yeager,
No.
Meade,
Yes.
Creasy,
No.
Isbell.
Yes.
5-3.
Motion passes. Motion passes 5-3. Next is 205 Main, sales closing, requested by Chairman Wandale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to speak on that last motion. I voted no because I felt like we had an agreement in place already, but I understand the subcommittee is going to be just discussing going forward, I guess. But anyway, 205 Main was closed today. Jay Yeager, myself, Robbie Holbrook. I did reach out to the mayor right before we all met to see if she had any concerns or issues. I was not able to reach her. But according to the law director, I could sign, the finance director could sign. So the Rusty Wallace group took ownership of 205 Main today. They paid for it in cash, and it's as is, where is. They will allow the seniors to come in when needed to get, I think the seniors still have some stuff over there, but they're happy to work out a day to do that. I think maybe the prisoners were going to try to help the seniors, maybe, I'm not sure. But so 205 Main was sold, and I'll leave it there if anybody's got any questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Anderson. Yes.
Thank you. Will we be able to get an update at next week's meeting, or at some point of when the proceeds get applied to the bond?
Jay, can you respond to that? Or Robbie?
Yes, I'll have Robbie give you an update on that. Robbie's got the funds, and I'm sure he's going to handle all the accounting. But I'll send him an email and have him give a report on that next week.
Thank you.
Okay, and Jay, you're preparing something we was talking about today that it's going to be able to give the public the use in our anticipated sales tax and revenue that we can get off of that. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct. I'm going to prepare something that'll maybe help you explain the situation a little bit better.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Holbrook's on the call if you wanted him to answer that question from Commissioner Anderson.
Could you do that, Robbie, please?
Sure, I can. So according to the auditors, the building was sold last fiscal year, so it's receding into last year. It'll roll into fund balance. And next month in August, I can do a budget amendment to take it out of fund balance and put it in the code and pay it on the bond, if that's commission's wish. Actually, I checked with Scott Gibson, and since the COVID-19 situation, what me and Robert were talking about in the meeting did we have to use the funds to pay the bond? And the answer to that question now is no, we don't. We can apply that money any way the commission would see fit. So I know a lot of y'all were interested in applying it to the bond, but that may be something we have to take a vote on, or you guys have to decide.
Josh, are you good with that? Or Commissioner Anderson?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the 205 sales closing?
Mr. Chairman, I just like to ask the law director, I'm sure he's going to do it anyway, but in his report for Monday to have those documents for all the commissioners to see, if that's all right.
I certainly will. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to the Eastwood Valley Convenience Center, new location update, requested by Chairman Wandale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Jeff Trabaka put together a great report, and I'm sure Commissioner McCamey could add anything he'd like. I think he had a meeting perhaps, or has one coming up, but I felt like Jeff put a good report there. I know that we're still looking for property, and looked like Jeff wanted to extend the use of the recycling bin a little longer to handle all the volume of trash with the COVID. I haven't had any calls of complaints with the facility being closed. Still have a few wanting to open back up for recycling, but I think for the most part, everybody understands we need to keep the facility open. Commissioner Kamey, you got anything?
Yeah, I do have a meeting with a potential seller on a piece of property that I think would be great for our relocation. But that's not until the 16th at 8:00 a.m. I'll be meeting with the buyer and showing exactly what we need and find out, you know, where we can go from there. That's good news. The bad news is, if you notice the amount of trash that we recycled at that center, that we transported and the number of hauls, over 40 tons. And that's up from like 28 prior to COVID-19. And now with more things being locked down, I can see where Jeff's concern for the month of July is going to be. It gives people more time to renovate their homes and haul away trash that maybe they had piled up for 6 months or so. But it's, like I said, the good news is we may have a new location. And the bad news is that we are really up on the tonnage. It's going to cost us because we're having more pulls. And that's $75 every time they pull one of those containers and take it to the landfill. It costs the county $75. So it's, the number of pulls, just one extra is an extra $75. So it's not looking too good for July right now. But I agree. I don't know if the commission actually voted to only run that through June, that recycling one, or if we need to vote on that. Do you remember, Mr. Chairman?
Seems like we made a part of the motion to have it go through June and revisit it. So we probably need to get another motion at the regular commission, if that's the recommendation of the solid waste.
Yeah, that would be the recommendation, is to go ahead and use it for garbage instead of recycling at this point, because if not, we're going to have to sit there and close down early at times with the amount of trash that we're getting in right now. So I would make the motion to go ahead and extend it through July and revisit it in August.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. Commissioner Anderson?
Is it showing a request to speak or something?
It is.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure where that's on my screen, but no, I'm good.
Okay. Commissioner Creasy, did you want to speak?
I second the motion.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, just real quickly, I want to let everyone know, and Commissioner McCamey, that I did speak to the new owners of the old tavern there, the Hitchin Post, and they did not have any interest in selling the property or leasing it out for a reasonable fee as well. I did check there.
Okay. Annette, would you call the roll, please?
Wandale,
Aye.
Jameson, Anderson,
Aye.
Kamey,
Aye.
Yeager,
Aye.
Meade,
Aye.
Creasy,
Aye.
Tisdale.
Aye.
Everybody.
Motion passes unanimous. Next is the assignment of the bus contract for 205 Main Street, Andersonville Bus Lines, David Landreth, requested by Law Director Jay Yeager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We currently have a parking agreement at Main Street Senior Center with David Landreth and Andersonville Bus Lines. That contract does expire on October 31st of this year. It was a 3-year deal started in November of 2017. Of course, we no longer own that property. So we need to assign that contract to the new owner, and he can deal with it as he so desires. Section 20 of the contract does have an assignment clause. It's by written consent of the non-assigning party, so that would be Mr. Lantreth, but we have no other location to put this individual and his buses at, and the lease was specific to 205 Main Street, that parking lot. So what I need is permission to go ahead and draft a lease assignment to the new owners, which is Huffaker, Henson, and Trout, LLC, and present that to the full body of county commission next Monday night for your approval.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. We have a second. Second. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mead. Mr. Mead.
Yes. The only question I have, Jay, is there any issue with the fact that the new owner may not agree to take this contract?
I personally do not think he is going to accept it. I've informed David Lantreth of that, and David's been a close community partner of the county and the school system for many years, and I told him that I think it'd be prudent for him to start shopping for a new location. But the way I understood at closing today is that parking lot is going to be completely torn up with the new construction. We should expect to see contractors moving in very shortly. But I do not think that lease will be renewed. And Mr. Lantreth's going to have to find another location to store his buses at.
So all this is really doing is openly acknowledging that we no longer have control of the property in the contract.
That's correct. There's no way we can perform the lease agreement as it stands right now. We don't own the property, and Mr. Lantreth is aware of that, and of course the new owners are too.
Commissioner Wandale, did you want to speak?
That was what I was going to cover. My interpretation at the meeting today was the new owners were not going to extend the contract for the bus lines.
Commissioner McCamey.
Yes.
Did you want to speak on the subject?
No, the motion has been made and seconded. I'm ready to vote.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Oh,
Wandale,
Aye.
Jamison, Anderson,
Aye.
McCamey,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Mead,
Aye.
Christie. He said aye, but he didn't.
he's muted.
Yeah. Isabel
I voted no.
voted no.
Yes.
Okay. 7-1. No.
7-1, motion passes. Next, is any new business come before this committee?
Mr. Chairman, I've got not business, but I do want to make an announcement before we close out the meeting.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, there's been several emails. I don't know if y'all received them or not, but about some rezoning on Old Emery Road. It's 551 Old Emery Road. And that is really not a rezoning issue, and the county commission doesn't have anything to do with it. What this amounts to is the owners of the property have asked for a special exception to put a rehab center in that one of the buildings on 551. The community is very upset about it. They're very much opposed to it. I've got at least 20 different emails. Talked with Commissioner Wandale, communicate with him about what was going on. But I just wanted the public to know that they're asking for a special exception, which doesn't really rezone the property. It allows them to utilize a commercial business inside a residential zone. And this is handled strictly by the Board of Zoning Appeals that meets tomorrow night at 5:30 in room 312. And I would encourage any residents that are opposed or any commissioners that are opposed to attend that meeting. Commissioner Jerry White, I think, is chairman of that committee. I know he's our county commission representative on that board. And it's up to them. The county commission will not have a vote on this, nor will the planning commission.
That's correct. Commissioner White is chairman. Any other discussion? Any more new business?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just kind of dovetail off of Commissioner McCamey, and I appreciate him explaining it so well. I just want to as well encourage all the residents and constituents that have reached out to myself, this full body commission. Obviously, Commissioner Fritz has been on top of it for District 1. This is the old home place of Jane Marcus on Emory Road. The property is over $1 million up on top of a hill, kind of in between two subdivisions. So I've got a lot of calls opposing that. And I would just encourage all of those individuals to attend that meeting tomorrow night. Reach out to Chairman Jerry White or any committee members of that Board of Zoning Appeals for this special request they're seeking.
Okay, Commissioner Creasy.
Yeah, that, if I'm correct, I think from what I read on the emails, and I haven't checked the tax maps, and the zoning for those properties around that, but it appears from the emails I've received that would be a case of spot zoning if it was to be rezoned.
That's correct.
There is some confusion, and I'm sorry to chime in here, but many of the emails reference R1 zone, which is residential. It's in an A2 zone. And the trouble with this special exception is we've had a drug treatment facility not even 3/4 of a mile away from this proposed location for many years down there. And I just want you to be aware of those two facts. It is in an A2 zone. I confirmed that with Mr. Phillips today. And there has been a rehab center on Old Emory Road for many years.
Commissioner Wandale?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just kind of struggle with the idea that the residents in my district or any district do not have an opportunity to be notified of such of a request until the end. I oppose that immensely. I think that's the reason we're having this virtual meeting, is so that folks can attend and give feedback. And at this time with the COVID, not a lot of people have the wherewithal or even the health to go to meetings like this. And I feel like our folks are being kind of left out, and I at least at a minimum respectfully request that zoning board hold off on this decision until the COVID issue has passed, to allow the people in this district the right to give their opinion on this. Just because we gave one down the road 3/4 of a mile doesn't make it right to do it now. So I understand the law director's point and how maybe legally we have to is maybe the position on this. But I think with the times we're in with COVID, I don't think we should rush to any decisions on this property. So I'll try to attend the meeting for the people I represent and make it known tomorrow myself. And I know Commissioner Fritz will as well.
I appreciate just a couple things on that. Thank you, Chairman Wandale. And I'm not saying I'm for it. I just wanted to point out a couple of facts on this. If you do desire, I don't know how much authority operations has without a county commission vote subsequent to it. But if you want to make a motion tonight to have BZA wait until we can flesh this whole thing out at some point in the future, I'll certainly send that to Chairman White and see if they would consider it. But I do want you to know that thanks to the new notice provisions that this body county commission passed, that's how we caught it. That's how many of our citizens were able to know about this. This was the first step of the process, and Danny got out there under the new mandates county commission passed for all the notifications, which I think is extremely thorough. And hopefully we won't have this problem in the past, but that's how our community knew about this. So I'm glad that occurred, but I can certainly check with Commissioner White tomorrow to see if he's willing to postpone this. Check with Danny, see if it is time sensitive, because this does seem to be a matter that we do want to have our community certainly have voiced their concerns to the BZA and let them know exactly how they feel about this project. But that's totally up to you. But I'll be glad to transmit that information to Danny Phillips and Chairman White of the BZA.
That's a great idea. I'll certainly make that motion. I guess one of my questions is, if we're following the procedures, does that mean the surrounding homeowners were notified in writing?
Hey, that's what it says. I don't know. I'm sure Danny's done an excellent job of following those mandates, but I don't know exactly what he did on this. But more than likely, I'll assume that Danny followed the letter of the law that you guys passed, and that meant, remember, that was any contiguous landowner was required to get registered mail notification. Plus, there was notices on the property, ACTV, the county website, and the newspapers of general circulation in the county. It's a very thorough policy that you guys passed.
I guess what concerns me is the term special request, variance, or whatever the term is.
Special exception.
Yeah, so I don't know if a special exception falls under those same guidelines we're talking about. I assume it does, but
yes,
I'm going to make a motion that we respectfully request the BZA to hold off on any action for this request of special exemption or for this property on Emory Road until for another 90 days if we could. That's my motion.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Meade?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in favor of this motion, but I'm concerned that we haven't heard any input on whether or not there's any urgency to this happening. If there's something that will not happen forever if we make them delay. And so that makes me concerned that we haven't heard that side at all. Does anyone that's involved in this meeting heard from anybody that implies that there's an urgency or not?
That's one of the things that I mentioned that I would check with Mr. Phillips to see if it is a time-sensitive subject. And again, this is just a request from this body. It's not the full body county commission. But I'll pass that information along, and then subsequently I'll share that information. Whatever I find tomorrow, I'll share it with the full body county commission.
Commissioner Creasy, did you want to speak?
Yes. I'm not sure if I'm in line here correct or not, but I'm thinking it would be very nice if we had a public hearing, if we could ask, and it might be inappropriate for me to make a motion like that, but to have Chairman Waddell to amend his motion to ask the BZA to hold off on their meeting until the county commission could hold a public hearing on the issue. Would that be an appropriate approach, Law Director?
Well, there is no statutory public hearing per se that you normally have in a rezoning matter. This is in the exclusive purview of the BZA, the Board of Zoning Appeals. They do have public meetings for everyone to say their piece on this matter. So that would come before them in the form of a hearing. They're entitled to listen to anybody that wants to show up, and that they will. I've been in many of those where Chairman White does an excellent job of allowing everybody to speak. But as far as a statutory authority for the county commission to have a public hearing on a request for a special exception, that does not exist. That, again, that is in the exclusive purview of the BZA.
Yeah, I was looking for some reason to delay it, but yeah, and the BZA meeting is a public hearing as such. I've attended those, and Chairman White does, as you say, does an excellent job. Been doing it for a number of years, about 30 years, I believe. Well, no, quite, but almost. Yeah. Thank you, sir, for letting me speak.
Yes, I'll pass on any information I get tomorrow immediately to the full body County Commission. Thank you.
Jay, unlike the Planning Commission, where we had the public hearing, County Commission doesn't have to ratify any decision that the BZA makes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, you're exactly correct. BZA is autonomous in the area of variances and special exceptions.
Okay. So whatever decision they make tomorrow night, if they don't put it off, that's what stands.
Yes, sir, unless that decision is appealed.
Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second. You call the roll, please.
Wendell?
Aye.
James? To respectfully request BZA to postpone the zoning. Anderson?
Yes.
McCamey?
Aye.
Yeager?
Aye.
Mead?
No.
Creasy? Isbell?
Aye. Motion passes 7-1.
May I
Any
speak?
old business?
Yeah, could I
Yes,
speak on that just a second, Chairman?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, I want to certainly applaud Commissioner McCamey and Waddell for speaking out on this and encouraging everyone to attend the meeting. I think that's very worthy of both of those commissioners, very responsible, and I applaud them both.
Thank you, Commissioner Creasy.
Thank you, Jerry.
Mr. Chairman? Are you there? Mr. Chairman, did we lose you? Mr. Chairman? Can't hear you. Says, I wonder if he's muted. Operations Committee to HR for their review.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion on the motion.
Yes, I have a question. Oh, sorry about that. Are you talking about HR department or HR advisory board?
I think the HR advisory board, because that's where all of our elected officials, and then we have a representative on that board, the mayor, and the mayor and of course all the other elected officials are on that board. So I think that's the place for it.
Okay.
Good question, Commissioner Yeager, and I apologize. I missed the HR advisory board.
Commissioner Creasy?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I got logged off, and by the time I got logged back in, apparently Commissioner Waddell had already spoken on his suggestion, and I apparently missed it. But if I understand from what's happened since I logged back on, is that he's asking that the HR committee review some of the comments we made tonight, the options we brought up that, like I myself brought up, Commissioner Scott brought up, and others in our meeting tonight. Is that what you're referring to the HR committee?
That's correct.
Okay. So the transcript of our discussions could be forwarded to them.
And it will be made part of the minutes of this meeting.
Okay. With that, I'll forward my comments that I had jotted down to Annette and to the chairman, Commissioner Isabel, to forward on.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Creasy.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Call the roll, please.
Wandale,
Aye.
James, Anderson,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Akers,
Aye.
Need,
Aye.
Creasy,
Aye.
Isbell.
Aye.
Unanimous.
Commissioner Yeager, did you want to speak?
No. I will take it up with the HR advisory board.
Okay.
Caller one is this.
Caller one still Josh Sanderson, I believe.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anything else to come before this committee? With nothing being said, meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good job.
Thank you.
That's good, because that was the last roll call sheet that I had.
Well, that's why we had to finish.
I would have said to start going.
I probably should have brought this up during the meeting when we were talking about it. But one of the things about this memorandum of understanding with Oak Ridge about the general session is